We will now consider the artificial pentagram, or the great sign of the microcosm, the world in miniature. The pentagram is one of the magic symbols, as mentioned earlier. In order to give you some idea of how symbols react on the astral beings, I would like to remind you that our emotional, subjective world may often be changed under the influence of forms, connected in one way or another with some definite emotional principles. A voice, picture, or object related to, for example, a manifestation of fear, often automatically produces that fear. The fearsome face and voice of an utterly unarmed and harmless being can frighten its enemy, who has previously seen and heard similar things in another being, which then successfully repulsed his attack. The emotional world belongs completely to the astral realm, and that is why symbols, used for a long time by the magic schools or by the representatives of certain egregors, are so important in the astral world. Whoever knows of the power of the cross in relation to Christians on this earth will not be astonished when he hears that this sign has a most powerful influence on elementals. For them, the cross is also connected with different emotional images. It reminds them about the fact of the synthetic construction of man, his outer activity, and that he is the king of the four elements. By this, man can dominate the elementals. Just as on earth, different ideas gradually lose meanings, and others take their place according to the development of human culture and civilization, so it is with the astral. The world of symbols on the astral plane also underlies uninterrupted evolution. It would be too naive to believe that all the symbols of ancient Egyptians have retained their former magical powers, and that now they are able to produce the same magic results. It is not because they have become too old or too much used, but without many additions and changes you are not able to get the same results as was formerly obtained from them thousands of years ago. An example will explain best. The famous phalanx of King Philip of Macedonia would not frighten a contemporary battalion, yet it certainly would dispel a band of hooligans on the street, armed only with knives and blackjacks. The student will do well if he tries to understand the analogy of this example. Among the symbols we have to distinguish simple ones, which our tradition does not break into parts. They are the point, the symbol of unity, the circle symbolizing the finite, the union, and the triangle being a symbol for the ternary, and so on. But a collection, union, of some simple symbols is called a complex one. A syllable will be a simple symbol for a sound, while several syllables expressed together in turn will be a complex symbol. If a complicated graphic symbol is a synthesis of some simple ones, its components, providing they give us a harmonious picture of united emotional images, connected by means of analogy with a synthetic metaphysical formula, it will be called a pentacle. In the symbolism of sounds, the symbol which corresponds to a pentacle will be a sequence of syllables, forming a word or even a whole sentence. An example of a pentacle is the pentagram. In the mental plane, it corresponds to the idea of free will. In the physical world, a representative of this will is the human body, as formed by the astrosome. Here, the astrosome represents the pentagram, and its spirit manifests the will. We have already had an example of 3 pentacles used to form the picture of the Great Arcanum, Lesson 12. The image of the holy name, Yod-He-Vah-He, should be considered as a pentacle of the picture of the dynamic cycles process. In the realm of sound, simple and complicated synthetic formulas are divided into 2 basic classes. 1. Mantrams, and 2. Cetrams. Formulas using mantrams are designed for action on the astrosome of some being other than the operator, even if such beings could belong to the operator as components of his collective I. Therefore, every formula prepared by us for action on another man, elementar, elemental, and so on, will be of the mantram class. For example, a formula used for the action of a man's own liver, in order to regulate its functions, will be a mantram. As opposed to a mantram, A cetrum serves to fortify the astrosome of the operator himself, so as to control and to regulate the functions of the whole system of centers and ganglions of that astrosome, which system may play a role in the process of conducting the manifestation of a man's will from the mental plane into the physical world. These cetrums offer the operator the self-assurance necessary for the performance of every magic operation. In the matter of further deliberations on the pentagram, we will leave the question regarding the kind of materials from which pentagrams should be made until the 7th Arcanum. Here, we will isolate the pentagram from all other pentacles, for it is the most important of all occult means for man's use, if employed wisely and supported by a strong will. We must put our attention on the fact that astral entities, that is, those living on only 2 planes, possess only astral organs as a means of cognition of astrosomes, with whom they want to or are compelled to communicate. In order to enter into contact and to become aware of the physical body of a man, the astral being can do so only temporarily, by means of borrowing and assimilation of certain fluids or vital force, and subtle principles from persons called medium. Some organic substances also serve for this purpose when separated from living bodies, such as the juices of plants, saliva, blood, sperm, milk, perspiration, and so on. In some special cases, this borrowing of the necessary materials for the astral beings can be effected by use of evaporating water and smoke from burning substances like dried herbs, tar, and so on. I have been able to test this latter form of assistance for helping the astral entities to manifest themselves in a visible and tangible way by performing the ritualistic operations of ceremonial magic. I think they are the best because of a lack of harm inflicted on other living beings, and the ease with which unwanted astral visitors can be removed, if they manifest by such a method. The use of blood and other gross matter is provocation for the astral intruders to remain in contact with the physical world longer than required, as well as to disobey the orders of the operator. When an astral entity borrows subtle matter from the body of a medium, it is able to create for itself, for a certain length of time, corresponding physical organs, and then it can see, hear, feel, and so on, just as we do. When these mediumistic accessories are lacking, an astral being cannot see a physical table, for example, but only the astrosome of the table, that is, the idea used by its maker, and cannot hear spoken words, but only the formal essence of the components of each sentence. How then does it act? 1. The astral entity can cognize and appreciate the amount of energy spent in giving the table a definite form, or for the pronunciation of a sentence. 2. It clearly perceives all the transformation of the energy which acts in both of these processes, as well as the sequence and exact pattern of the transformation. Such are the principles of astral seeing, which could be better defined as astral imbibition. Now, imagine an astral being looking at an incarnate man by means of only its astral light. It will perceive a definite kind of energy impression. Magic tradition tells us that, in this case, the picture which the astral being sees will be very closely connected with the process of astral imbibition of the energetic manifestation of a pentagram when made from 7 metals, and also that this will be very little different from the impression made on the same astral being by a pentagram made from pure gold. Some occult authors believe that it is useful to manifest the pentagram with the help of an electrophore, in the form of what we call electric illumination. From this point of view, we see that the pentagram not only serves to create the idea of the manifestation of free will, but gives to the astral beings the illusion of the presence of a living man. That is why in this course we consider ourselves entitled to call pentagrams all beings which are related to the formulas A. 5 equals 3 plus 2, and B. 5 equals 2 plus 3. You should already know the difference between these two signs.